The wind cut across the open prairie as I stood on the porch, sipping black coffee from an old enamel mug chipped at the rim. This ranch, 1,200 acres of hills, cattle, and wildflowers, had been in my bloodline for 4 generations. To some, it's just dirt and fencing. To me, it's history, sweat, and soul. I'd fought to keep it alive, especially after Dad passed. So when I heard a knock at the gate and saw 2 golf carts approaching, each carrying smug-faced folks in pastel polos embroidered with Silver Acres HOA, I had a feeling it wasn't a social call. One of them, a wiry guy with a buzz cut and a clipboard, stepped off the cart like he owned the place. "Mr. Callahan," he said, voice polished like a sales pitch. "I'm Trevor, Vice President of the Silver Acres Homeowners Association. We've had several complaints about your livestock straying too close to our development's boundary." I blinked. "You mean, my cows? On my land?" Trevor chuckled like I was the one missing something. "Silver Acres is now a master-planned community. With that comes regulations and updated zoning covenants. Unfortunately, your ranch is in violation of several of them." I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. "This land's been in my family since before your subdivision was a drawing on a napkin. I don't answer to an HOA." He pulled out a neatly folded document from a manila folder. "Actually, you do. This ranch falls within our community expansion zone, as filed with the county last year. You've received multiple notices." I had burned them, assuming they were junk mail. Still, something in his tone made my gut twist. "You've got 30 days to comply," he said, climbing back into the cart, "or vacate." That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by old deeds, land surveys, and hand-drawn maps from my grandfather. The thing is, Trevor wasn't entirely wrong. There was a new plat filed with the county, but it was incomplete. They didn't know what they were stepping into. My grandfather, Elijah Callahan, wasn't just a rancher, he was a visionary and a man who didn't trust government hands on his dirt. In the 60s, he quietly acquired land under shell companies, locking down water rights and grazing leases until he held more than anyone realized. Up in the attic, I found it, an old deed box labeled Rainwater Holdings. Inside, aged papers and notarized documents showed clear ownership of several parcels, including one right in the heart of Silver Acres. Their clubhouse, pool, even their HOA headquarters, built on my land. The next morning, I drove into town to see my lawyer, Sheila Travis, a no-nonsense, boots and blazer kind of woman. She looked over the documents and let out a low whistle. "They're standing on your dirt," she said. "Let's file." By that afternoon, we sent a cease and desist letter to the HOA demanding they stop all attempts to evict me and begin negotiations for back rent. That same night, their lawyers responded with a flurry of legal jargon, adverse possession claims, grandfathering, technicalities. But Sheila was relentless. Then came the retaliation. A week later, code enforcement officers, flanked by 2 board members, rolled up my drive. Fence violations. Unauthorized livestock. Noise complaints from my hay baler. They even tried towing my old work truck, calling it an eyesore. They backed off fast when the sheriff showed up. Sheriff Mulan, Dad's old fishing buddy, stood beside me, arms folded. "You boys better check the county records before you go stomping on Callahan land," he said. "You're not in charge out here." But they didn't quit. They escalated. Posted signs calling me a public nuisance. Sent newsletters urging neighbors to report suspicious activities on my property. Held a town hall, pushing a petition for forced annexation. It wasn't about cows. It was about control. They wanted the ranch, its value, its space, its heart. But they'd built their empire on my soil. I gave Sheila the green light. At dawn, we posted the eviction notice right on their HQ's glass door. As unauthorized occupants of private property located at 22 Deer Run Circle, it read, you have 15 business days to vacate or face formal eviction. Trevor came tearing down my drive, his face redder than a sunburn. You can't do this, he shouted. I held up the deed. This land says otherwise. You built without a title. You don't even have a lease. You'll regret this, a board member hissed. The HOA has resources. I smiled. Not as deep as my water rights. Oh, and I just filed for a tax reassessment on your facilities. You might want to check your budget. The fallout was swift. Their legal team tried arguing they had prescriptive rights. But our paper trail was airtight. The county reviewed the permits. Turns out the developer who built Silver Acres had submitted forged title insurance on at least 2 parcels, including mine. Local news caught wind. The headline read, HOA built its headquarters on land it doesn't own. After that, the floodgates opened. Residents, fed up with the HOA, began calling me. A few even asked if they could pasture goats on the back half of my land, in protest. I told them to go right ahead. The day the eviction order went through, I stood across from their headquarters, arms folded, as movers cleared out desks, signs, and everything else that gave them a sense of power. Trevor stood on the sidewalk, slack-jawed. Told you, I said. Never pick a fight on land you don't own. I could have bulldozed the building. Would have made a point. But I had bigger plans. Instead, I put up a sign, prime commercial property, inquire within. A Texas-style barbecue chain made me an offer. They wanted to turn the building into a steakhouse, live music, a patio, the works. I liked the idea. It had character. The HOA? They were left homeless, disorganized, and broke. Half their board resigned. Residents called for dissolution. But I wasn't done yet. Sheila helped me file a civil suit, for harassment, back rent, and defamation. During discovery, we found emails from board members mocking me as a dumb hick who won't last the year. That little email cost them $380,000 in damages. I used it to create a land trust, protecting Callahan Ranch forever from development or annexation. 6 months later, the steakhouse opened. Ironically, Trevor's backyard faces the patio. Every weekend, he's serenaded by twangy country music, laughter, and the smell of grilled ribs. Sometimes I sit on my porch, drink in hand, watching the lights flicker across the prairie. They tried to erase a legacy. Thought their rules outweighed roots. But they forgot the oldest law of the land. You can't take the ground from the man who owns it, ***.